All right, so we're on to the main vent outside. So this is what you can buy and it's pretty readily available, but I don't know, I'm not really liking the way it looks. And then you see these on the trailers and they get kind of like sun beaten and then they start breaking apart and just falling apart. And then, I don't know, I'm wanting to like throw a bunch of air in there. This came with the trailer. There was actually like 2 or 3 of these. The previous owner had planned on putting these in there. So I plan on making something a little bit better, and I'm not sure that I can make it because the only metal that I have is really thick. So I was planning on making something out of this. So this is 12 inches across by, looks like a little over a yard. So I'm gonna draw something up, a pattern, and then we'll mark it out and I'll kind of show you what I'm thinking. All right, so here's the pattern that I came up with. I think it looks a little cooler. Kind of gonna be a little bit more aggressive. So the plate that I'm using is 12 inches across, but it's like 100 thousandths thick. So this is way too thick. So this is basically half, like a mirror image. So we'd lay that out and then flip it over. So what I'm planning on doing is cutting it out of this. And if my pattern's right, it should be about 6 inches across. So see that? So it's 12 inches total. So my thought is we'll cut it out of this and then we'll bend this up, which then should retract it from this overall dimension. And then we'll set it back down over here and then cut out what I'm gonna call this flange area. And then we'll weld it to it. But I don't really know what metal this is. I mean, it's rusting, so it should be, you know, weldable, I'm hoping. It says right here it's a 10 gauge, so if that does anything for you, it's way too thick for this. Should be using a sheet metal. That would be way easier, but yeah, this thing should never break down. But I'm gonna draw it out right now. So the best way to do it, since this end is squared up, it's nice and square, put a speed square on there, because when I drew this out, this is the edge of the paper. So then I'm gonna push that all the way to the edge and then hold that and then just use a Sharpie and go ahead and mark that little sucker out. Okay. So now we'll do the same on this side. I'll get it to right about where it needs to be. We'll use the speed square. All right, so now we're just going to continue those lines. All right, there she is. So the reason I cut out half of a pattern at one time is because it's so much easier to make a mirror image of it in comparison to trying to match this same on both sides. This way, it's perfectly the same because it's the same piece of paper. I'm gonna put some earplugs in and see if we can't cut this out with this jigsaw. It's got a heavy-duty metal blade on it. All right, so we're gonna try cutting it out now. I'll probably try some of the nice swoopy lines. We're putting on some cutting fluid right now, so it's Tap Magic. And don't just go and let it eat. You're gonna heat up the blade too much, so you need to really keep it just kind of slow if you can. So here we go. Also got ear protection on because this is gonna be horribly loud. All right. That actually cut out a little easier than I was thinking. Ooh, dog, there she is. Well, surprisingly enough, that actually cut out a lot easier than I was thinking it was going to. So I'm kind of on the outside of the line in some spots, but this is gonna be, even that will be very easily fixed on the sander. And then I'll use the template to make sure both sides look exactly the same. So next step is going to be cleaning it up for the disc sander, and we'll make everything look perfectly uniform on that. And I'll probably hit this with some sandpaper first. So as I was grinding, I was putting my template on and then remarking out like whatever didn't fit. So sometimes these can play like a bit of an optical illusion on you just because of how dirty it is. One side will look bigger, the other side will look smaller. So I got all that dialed in. So I think the most important thing is right here currently, because after I bend it, how this kind of bows out, this might need to be a relatively straight line, so I might need to go back and recut that so that it sits right. So I think we're on to finding the center. Okay, got it all nice and ground up. And then I put a ruler on there and then a little speed square so that I could find the center right there, because I'm going to focus the bend that I'm bending right here, so I needed to figure out exactly where the center was. Okay, so I marked it out. Now this is just going to be up to your own interpretation. So these lines are kind of going like this a bit because I want this side bigger and funneled. Now am I bending it enough? I don't know, because realistically I'm going to put some 2x4s right here and then I'm going to bend it up from the center. So I think with how thick this is, these are just going to be more of a suggestion rather than it actually doing it. So there's that to look forward to. All I basically did was I measured over 2 inches from the edge and just swept and put a mark, and then did the same thing over here, 2 inches from the edge, swept and put a mark all the way at the edge, and then I measured out 6 inches right here. Now if I would have gone 7, we would have been over here, and I'm still maybe contemplating doing 7. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe we'll do 7, so I'll mark up 7. Alright, so I laid out 7 inch, so all I'm doing is I'm going from that point, which is 2 inches over, and intersecting with this, and then measuring up 7 inches until it hits the edge up here. And then theoretically, if you wanted to do 8, you can just pull it over more until you hit 8, like that. So just using these as rough guides, because it should be kind of, I don't know what you call that, more of a scallop, where it's bigger on this side and going to be scooped down. So we're going to see how well that works, and I'm going to use these as the blocks to bend it, and then I'm going to use this tubing bender die, and I've already marked out the center. Just going to put the center right there, and then just going to use a floor jack and let it eat. So see how it goes. Okay, so before we put this underneath, we need to secure these somehow so that they are nice and lined up to where we're attempting to bend. So the easiest thing that I got is literally just a glue gun. So I'm going to just glue gun this on there. This is some really old hot glue though, so not sure how well it's gonna stay or not stay. So pretty excited about that. And then just gonna kind of smush that in there right up to my line. Kind of just need this to hold just in its current position so that when we're putting this underneath the frame, it's kind of stable. Whether this works or not, I don't know. It just needs to hold until it's in place, not hold while we're bending it, but we'll see. All right, so this is the cross member of the C20, and we got the boards there. Could probably line it up slightly better because it feels like this side's out a little bit compared to the other side. We're not fully tight yet. Just my due diligence is trying to get these two lines lined up before we start actually jacking. Add a little bit more pressure now. So just use hot glue and pretty much the weight of a 454. So we're gonna start trying to jack this up now and see what exactly is gonna happen. I think I need to get this a little bit more recessed behind here. There we go. All right, here we go. We're gonna start bending. Oh yeah, we're just lifting the truck. All right, so I think we're gonna let her down now and see what we got. It's probably gonna fall. Yep. All right. I think let's stick this back up on the bench and see how much we bent it. All right, I think it's actually pretty close to what I was wanting. Maybe it's up a little bit high, but I think we can do some stuff about that. So if I set this down on the piece right here, a couple of things that you'll notice is that these ends right here are up a little bit, and that's fine. And then this right here kind of curves down. So from about here to there, it curves down. So what I'm gonna try to do is right in here, I'm probably gonna put this in the vise and see how easy it is to bend by hand, which is probably not gonna be. So I might have to come up with like another thing to bend underneath the truck. And then once that's laying down flat, it's gonna bring this back down right here. And then once that's laying down, then I'll bend these individually down. So then we'll see how that goes. So I think that that's where I'm currently gonna start. All right, so we got it clamped in. And then I'm gonna see if I can't just kind of bend it over by hand, kind of bend that up. Trying not to go too far, just enough though. Oh, definitely move there. Kind of feel like a little bit more. So I did put a line right here. So when I go set it down, I kind of have a spot for it to go back to. Now I'm kind of just doing this all by feel. I think it's close enough to try. I think that's pretty much where we want it. So now the fun part is we are going to bend these down. So I'm probably going to go from, let's say, this mark right here, since that should be even on both sides. And then I'm probably going to go to where it's touching. So I'll probably measure back so it's relatively the same. So we'll have that touching, and you kind of want to do one side touching first and then work your way forward. So yeah, I'm going to bend those down, probably at an angle right there, and just go. So I'm going to measure that out first though. Okay, so we got it all lined up. I marked these out. Basically went from here and I went 3 inches over. Realistically, I'd like to do like more of an arc, because like right here, you can kind of feel it's a bit of a dip right there, but I think that this is just going to be fine for what we got going on. Now I'm using pieces of wood right here so it doesn't mar this whole thing up, because that would be not ideal at all. So now I'm trying to get as low as I can so that even though there's an arch right here, that should give this a lot of structural rigidity, including this one. So I'm trying to go really low, and I find just kind of throwing my weight at it and kind of pulsing tends to help. So I think that this one in particular, since there's 2 of them you're having to balance against, I have a feeling that I need to probably do both sides and then go check it out. So I'm gonna bend this other side and then I'll bring you back in. All right, so we pivoted off of here, and keep in mind that we were just going off the same mark and then just went 3 inches back. Same mark, 3 inches back, bent it down, and then that one too. Now keep in mind, we're gonna weld it to this plate. So we could work on that tiny little gap right there, but I don't know that it matters as much. But I think that that's pretty much all we can do. All right, so we cleaned it up. Not too bad, because it, you know, was looking like that. Now it looks like this. That's pretty cool. So it's ready now, because we smoothed the edge right here. It's ready now to be set on the other piece, and then we'll cut out that other piece. We'll figure out what we want the, call it the flange, what we want the flange to look like, and then we're gonna see if this welds, because I don't remember what kind of metal this is. I hope it's just like a A1, A2, something like that. But what we'll end up doing is putting some weight on here, and then we'll tack all the way around, and then it'll be kind of fun to paint the inside of this and all that. And I'm gonna try to figure out the baffles on here, because I'm gonna make this very similar to the plastic one where it has a baffled, I think, or I'm just gonna go full, you know, so it'd be like a tornado in the trailer with 50-mile-an-hour winds coming through. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. We'll see. Also gonna have to go pretty heavy on the attachments here, because I don't know, maybe we got to do a bolt that goes all the way through and then has like a big washer on the other side, so it has to rip off the whole side of the trailer because of the scoop of this. Because I was thinking just like, you know, we'll wood screw it in, but I'm like, maybe we need bolts with nylon locking nuts on the inside to actually hold this thing on. Otherwise it'll just go whew. But anyways, you know, like a 4-pound vent, that's the side of it. So cool thing is, you know, we're completely flat, level. Whole thing looks pretty snazzy. Kind of goes up a little bit much, but so if you don't have a fancy bender, but you got a jack and a really heavy C20, that would be the ticket. All right, so unfortunately we're gonna have to cut this video right here, because we're already at like 17 minutes and we barely cut out one part of the vent. So next week we're going to make the flange, weld it up, maybe even start on the tube. So there's gonna be a tube that goes in the trailer wall to a flange, kind of show you next week. Everything that we used for this, if possible, will be in the description. It'll be links on Amazon, so it's an affiliate link that helps out the channel. So we really appreciate you watching. This series will have 2 playlists. So it'll be in the overall trailer playlist, but then it'll have its own playlist. I kind of think that this is gonna be somewhere maybe 3 to 4 videos. So please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Hope this helped you out in creating your own custom vent. Stay tuned.